Those of you familiar to my channel will know that I absolutely love Weekly Shonen Jump. It's one of my favorite things. Every week, I'm really grateful that I can read the entire magazine, and I also love diving into older series and exploring the whole of Jump's 55-year history. This is going to be a top 100 Weekly Shonen Jump manga video, which is something I wanted to do for a while, but seeing as the channel recently hit 100 subscribers, I feel like that's appropriate. And without too much more preamble, let's get things moving and clarify some criteria of what counts as a Jump manga for this list. Firstly, it has to have serialized itself within the main Weekly Shonen Jump magazine at some point. Even if it moved magazine, as long as it had a decent chunk of chapters in Weekly Shonen Jump, it qualifies. This means manga like Steel Ball Run, D Gray Man, Bastard, and Boruto all count, despite them moving magazine later on in their runs. Things like Spy Family, which have had special chapters in Jump, don't count however, as those are just a few one-off chapters. They didn't originate in the magazine. I also won't be ranking one-shots, but short one-volume series like Sandland I will count. For this ranking, I'll include series I finished, ongoing Shonen Jump manga, including newbies, since this list will change over time anyway, so I kind of feel like why not? It'll act as a nice little time capsule. Manga on hiatus are also viable, like Hunter x Hunter, and also manga I've dropped. There's also some cases where I've read only a bit of a Shonen Jump manga, but not all of it. Either it's a longer series I put on hold for a while, or the translations just drop partway through. I'll usually bring up if I haven't read the series fully as I get to them, but most things on this list I've read fully. Also, don't be surprised if I'm missing a few big series on this list. While I have read the big three and plenty of other big series, I've mostly spent my time reading shorter acts manga, so expect a decent amount of variety and coverage, but some of your favorites might not be here. With all that said, I think we should begin. Number 100 being Kowloon's Ball Parade, which is a manga I really enjoyed the first few chapters of. It's solid baseball fun, but it quickly becomes rushed at the end due to an impending axe, and that's why it's so low. Number 99 is Red Hood, which has some really nice art, and the fairy tale setting it has is really fun. Sadly, I think the slow boat tag arc really slowed down the manga basically, and led it to have a rushed final section, but it had a lot of promise. Number 98 is Alice and Tayo, or Alice and Son. The translation isn't finished, but the first volume is very cute and fun, which follows a singer and a musician who work together to try to get a Grammy. I think the premise is fun, and the main character reminds me of Akane from Akane Banashi. I'd really love to see this musical concept done again. Number 97 is Hell Warden Higuma, which is a run-of-the-mill exorcist battle shonen that had nice art and aesthetics, and Higuma was pretty neat as a character, but overall pretty generic, nothing else to comment on. Number 96 is the recently finished Mashal, which I think is just alright. It began really funny, but it wore out its main joke really quickly in my opinion, but overall a decent comedy battle shonen I think. Number 95 is Momoji no Kisetsu, which is a shogi manga, which I'm a fan of. I like shogi quite a lot. However, only 3 chapters are translated. I did really like them though. Number 94 is one of Hirohiko Araki's earlier works, which is Cool Shock BT, standing at only 1 volume. It's not the best written, but it's really charming to see Araki's early art, and BT as a character feels like a proto-Dio, so that's also really cool to see. Number 93 is Kagamigami, a Pokemon-style battle manga where they fight with Shikigami. It's a decent shorter manga at around 40 chapters, and it seems to have gotten axed, but it handles it okay. Another neat fact is this is by the author of Siren. Number 92 might be a bit of a surprise. It's Mikakunin Shonen Godot, with only 1 chapter translated, and you might be wondering why it's on this list. And it's because I think that 1 chapter is really fun. It essentially follows a cryptid doctor who goes around and heals or helps cryptids, I think. And I think that concept is really cool, and I'd love to see this one translated. Number 91 is Bose Beats. It has amazing artwork, and I love the sci-fi weapons and sci-fi trimmings it has. There are also some story beats I did like. It might have been a bit confusing though. I most remember it though for this one really cool character saying he's vegan, which you don't see very much and is nice to see as a vegan. Some cool representation for me. Number 90 is Hungry Mary, which is a flawed but pretty funny series by the author of Beelzebub. The main premise is very wacky, with the delinquent MC turning into the daughter of Marie Antoinette, and I think you can tell from there that it gets pretty wild. Number 89 is The Comic, with a Q at the end. This is a short 1-volume mystery series by the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! Kazuki Takahashi. I really like how it mixes the murder mystery elements and the manga artist elements. The art is nice overall too, but I think its length holds it back a bit, but overall it's a nice time. Number 88 is another shogi manga with a bit of a Yu-Gi-Oh!-esque spin on things, where the main character changes personalities depending on the different time of day. I remember it being really weird, but also a lot of fun. Number 87 might be our first upset on this list, and it's Hitman Reborn. And compared to the other longer series Jump has, I think Hitman Reborn is a bit forgotten in modern times, and maybe that's for the best. It's very flawed. I do like the art and some characters like Suna and Gokudera. The early gag arc is also fun, and some battles throughout are pretty good. But I think it really struggles with its massive cast, and the female character representation is especially poor. Add on a bunch of smaller issues, and this is why Hitman Reborn doesn't make it very high. Number 86 is Lady Justice, which is an ecchi superhero manga. There's not too much special about it, I just found the premise really fun and I like the ecchi elements. The protagonist is cute and there's some funny gags with her. Number 85 is Tokyo Shinobi Squad, which has some interesting world building and some nice art, as expected by the artist behind Phantom Seer. Over time, I've come to like it a bit more because I'm a bit more of a fan of the cyberpunk genre, and I'd love to see another cyberpunk manga in Jump. Number 84 is D. Greyman, which is still ongoing to some extent, but I'm actually not caught up. This is one I read about 14 volumes of and I just stopped reading. I do like its darker tone and atmosphere though, and a few characters are nice like Alan, but I really didn't vibe with it at the time. It might be one I need to revisit again someday. Number 83 is Magu-chan God of Destruction, which is a cute little series that didn't grab me while it was ongoing, but the final chapter was genuinely beautiful and recontextualized the series a bit for me and makes me remember it fondly. I also think the idea of having these cute little Lovecraftian gods is really fun and good for a manga. Number 82 is the recently axed P6, which has a lot of interesting elements. Its art and paneling were rough at times, but solidified throughout the series to be really unique and fun to read. Its story though is a mixed bag. I had trouble getting into it at the beginning, and then it peaked and was really fun in the middle, but its ending is really rough. And while I like it conceptually, it is a literal slap in the face to readers. I also think Lucky as a character just doesn't work for me. Number 81 is Yui Cameo Let's Loose, which is a really fun premise where the main character switches between a well-to-do lady while her hair is tied up and an aggressive dark-haired lady while it's down. The main male character is also really unique, being this more cool playboy type, which you don't see much. The rom-com elements are nice, and it gradually transforms into a horror-themed battle shonen, which is really interesting. Number 80 might be another one you've never heard of, which is called Live or Live. It's only 10 chapters long, and I'm not even sure there's a volume release. The premise is great though, where there's this nice boy who accidentally ends up summoning a demon called Slayer, and basically makes him not fight anyone, which leads to some really funny antics, and I kind of wish this lasted, but when it started serializing, there were a lot of other big manga starting, so I think that's why it didn't last too long. Number 79 is Hardboiled Cop and Dolphin, which started out really promising. I loved the setup of having cops working on a remote tropical island, and one of them being a dolphin in Orpheus was really funny and led to an intriguing mystery. The battle elements and backstory introduced later though didn't grab me, and they really felt piled on to just tell the story before the manga got axed, which is understandable but ultimately just led to it feeling a bit flat for me. Number 78 is Slam Dunk, and stay with me here, I've only read the first 3 volumes, and I liked what I read. Sakuragi is a cool character, and it seemed like a solid basketball series. But at the time I got sidetracked, and I just haven't gone back, but I will one day. Number 77 is Robot X Laser Beam, which is a golf manga where the main character can only do straight line shots. It's an interesting premise at the beginning and has some fun with it, but it slowly gets really dry, and I can definitely see why it ended possibly early. Overall, it's alright. Number 76 is Super Smartphone, which started out again really promising as this massive battle of wits using these mysterious smartphones. I loved the original mystery, and I loved how Q was gradually discovering and utilizing the phones. Sadly, it ended up falling apart as it got news of its acts. Number 75 is Jacko the Galactic Patrolman, which is a nice 1-volume short manga by Toriyama, following a goofy Galactic Patrol officer called Jacko. Other than sharing his name with my favorite Guilty Gear character, I like Jacko because of how self-absorbed and kind of aloof he is. Expect some good art and a nice little story from this. I recommend people to read it. Number 74 is the new Icehead Gil, and so far I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I like the Viking and Ice World setting, and Gil is a very fun and cute character. It reminds me of early Gone Freaks from Hunter x Hunter. I'd love to see this evolve into a long-running adventure series over time, as it has some great art and an interesting setting, but we'll see where that goes. Number 73 is I Tell C, a detective series with a very interesting main character who ends up falling in love with their perpetrators. The mysteries aren't the best, but I found them fun overall, and I seem to like it more than other people do. Number 72 is a series of one-shots by Osamu Tezuka from the 70s. Only 2 are translated in English, but both are pretty solid sci-fi stories that I recommend checking out. You can hear more about it in one of my Shonen Jump history videos, which I'll plop up on screen right now. Number 71 is Ninku, which is Jump's OG ninja series. Only a single volume is translated in English though, and I really enjoyed it, which is why it's so high up this list. I think Fusuke is a really fun character, and I'd love to see his full story. Number 70 is Phantom Seer, which has some stellar art, and its horror theming is great. I think it struggled with getting the plot rolling though, and if it was a bit faster or maybe grander with its narrative, it might have survived. I do agree with a lot of people though, I would have loved to see it stick around, and I think it did have a bit of an unfair axe. Number 69, nice, is Martial Master Asumi, which is another new manga in Jump. It's pretty solid so far, being a fairly standard martial arts series, but I love how they're building up the main character Asumi and his rivalry with his older brother. It seems to be really promising, and I think it'll stick around based on the author's previous work, Hinomaru Zumo. Number 68 is Food Wars, another manga I've only read a few volumes of, but I remember liking it quite a lot. Soma is a cool character, and I liked all the cooking elements, something I'll definitely go back to in the future. Number 67 is Boruto, and I don't think Boruto's as bad as people say it is, to be honest. It's pretty alright overall. I like a few of the characters, and some of the later incidents are genuinely really interesting, and they veer away from some of the standard shonen battle manga things you'd expect from a Naruto successor. I'd also say I prefer it over a good chunk of Shippuden, to be honest, as well, which might get me crucified. Number 66 is Act Age, which ended tragically premature, and I love Usuzaki's art a lot, and I think it elevates the manga a ton. I'd love to see her come back to the magazine with a new manga, like the Flame-Eyed Cyclops, which seems to be a law attorney manga, and I really want one of those because I'm a massive Ace Attorney fan. Number 65 is Kill Blue, another newbie. Some elements are a bit cliche and iffy, with Ogami being an older man in a child's body, but so far I think it's walked the tightrope with that quite well, keeping it not as weird as it could be. I do like how it focuses on Ogami learning to enjoy things like schoolwork, learning, home ec club, and sports. You can see him enjoy things he never had in his original childhood, which is a lot of fun, and it gives importance to these little things that we might take for granted. I think there's also some great character building potential with his ex-wife, something you can't say many Shonen Jump characters have ever had. Number 64 is The Last Sayuki, the first ever big axe I really cared about. It has some brilliant art, especially in its expressions. I enjoyed the characters a lot, especially Ryunosuke and his relationship with his sister. The story was interesting, but I think it got a bit too complicated, especially towards the end when it got axed. I'll still always remember it fondly though, and even own the first volume in Japanese. At number 63, we have Sukeban Arashi, an early work of Masumi Kurumada, the author of Saint Seiya. It follows Rei Kojinyama, a rough-and-tumble teen girl who battles with her rival, another rich girl called Shizuka. I found the manga a lot of fun, and it's interesting how a shonen manga from the 70s features 2 female characters as its leads. I'm really looking forward to covering this one in my next Shonen Jump history video. Number 62 is Doretrai, a new boxing manga set in a post-World War II Japan. This one's a little rough around the edges, but I really like the main character, Ao, a lot. He's scrappy and has a good amount of heart to him. I'd love to see this get a decent amount of chapters and develop its story and world, but with Asumi starting at the same time as it, I think they'll favour that one instead. So I hope Doretrai at least ends gracefully. At number 61 we have My Hero Academia. I think Horikoshi's art is great and some of his writing is good too, but I don't like a lot of the characters and some elements and arcs throughout the series, which really drags it down for me. There have been some good moments recently though towards the ending, so I might find myself enjoying it a little bit more as it ends. At number 60 we have Neolation. Originally I glossed this one over when it came out, but I was pleasantly surprised rereading it. I really like the hacker theming and it gets surprisingly dark at some places. There are also a few arcs I really like the car racing arc and the final one, which is actually really heartwarming and touching. At the beginning, Siren is really enthralling. Its setting and story are really unique to Jump to, and I love how the characters jump back and forth between the current world and the Apocalypse one. There's some really good arcs, some cool characters, but overall, some of them didn't work for me, and the story's resolution just didn't do it for me. I don't think it's bad, I just feel like I didn't enjoy it as much as other people did. At number 58, we have Time Paradox Ghostwriter, an ill-fated manga that I really enjoyed as it was serialized. Despite some shortcomings, it was written from a place of love for manga, and it really resonated me. It's a shame it got axed because I'd love another long-running Jump manga talking about making manga like Bakuman or something. Sadly, this wasn't it. At number 57, we have Ring ni Kakuro, another Masumi Kurumada series. Despite its importance to Shonen Jump as a whole, I think Ring ni Kakuro is relatively forgotten, which is a little sad. And sadly, it's not completely translated into English. The few volumes that I have read though were a ton of fun, and I love the 2 main characters, a brother and sister called Kiku and Ryuji. I hope I can read more of their story in the future. At number 56, we have the Ichinose family's Deadly Sins, one of the weirder manga to come out of Jump. Ichinose is really interesting to read weekly, as sometimes the chapters don't really hit, but other times the cliffhangers are really gripping. It's possible binge reading it might make it a more consistent read. I do mostly enjoy it, and I think it's really interesting, although the constant shifts in perspective and cliffhangers make it feel a little cheap at times. At number 55, we have Me and Roboco, which is secretly the number 1 series on this list, and I couldn't contain my excitement anymore. Roboco is the best Shonen Jump manga there is. No jokes, this is the best one. It's pretty good though. It ranges from painfully and funny sometimes to really funny or heartfelt. It's appropriate that it's in the middle of the pack, I think. I'm a fan of the meta Jump humor, and I think its cast of characters are quite strong, especially Motsuo and Gachi Gorilla. At number 54 we have Mission Yozakura Family, which is a nice series overall. The cast is diverse, and I think all of them are great characters and are a lot of fun. The balance of serious story-focused arcs and slice-of-life chapters are great too. You get a little bit of everything when you read this. Its ranking is a bit lower though than it would have been a few months ago, as I really dislike the current arc with the new Yozakura children. They just really drag the fun out of the series for me. At number 53 we have Kochikame, an almost 2,000 chapter juggernaut of a series. Kochikame ran in the magazine for an absurd amount of time. Sadly, out of its almost 2,000 chapters, only around 30 or so are available in English, but what I have read from them was really funny, and I would have loved to read Ryotsu's crazy antics every week. Number 52 is Kimetsu no Yaiba. It had great artwork for the most part. Early to mid Demon Slayer was a lot of fun for me, and I really like some characters like Zenitsu and Inosuke. That said, I think it's a little rough, and the last few arcs, minus a few fights, weren't the best. At number 51 we have Muddy, a very short 12 chapter series that I have a lot of fondness for. It follows a scientist named Clay who creates a homunculus boy he calls Muddy. It's cute and a lot of fun for what it is, and I covered it in my very first video, so it's special to me. Number 50 is Shudan, a football manga by one of my favorite authors, Takuma Yokota. Instead of focusing on a high school setting, it starts out in grade school and slowly the characters grow up over time, which I think is a really unique concept. Despite it only having 4 volumes, it wraps up its story and characters really well in my opinion, and even has a female character join in with the boys' football, which is something I've always wanted to see in a sports manga. At number 49 we have Noah's Notes, an archaeological adventure story. I really loved Noah's Notes and wish it lasted longer or got a full translation even. Noah and Mirai are great characters, and from what I can tell of the ending, it seemed pretty neat and heartfelt. Something really fun and unique which I'd love to see again in the magazine. At number 48 we have Aliens Area, a newer Axe manga, and I think it had a ton of promise. Especially now being a big X-Files fan, I'm sad it's gone because I can definitely imagine it playing out as a sci-fi procedural of sorts. It had some really nice chapters, some great world building, and a final arc that, even though a bit rushed, concluded quite nicely. I hope we see Fusainaba again in Jump. Number 47 is High School Family. Beloved by a lot of people, it was a really fun little slice of life gag series. The main joke about the entire family going to school was always funny to me, and it had a lot of really nice heartfelt scenes. I'm pretty sad it left the magazine so abruptly. At number 46 we have Bone Collection, also by the author of Dorotrite. Bone Collection was a manga I didn't like at first, but found myself really enjoying, especially its later arc and climax. It being a lot of fun, and the final chapter being a big wedding was amazing. I love the characters and art a lot, and that's why it's so high, despite its negative reputation. At number 45 we have a kaiju manga called Ziga, where only 3 chapters were ever translated. I loved the art, as mentioned with Super Smartphone, and the character designs were amazing. The darker tone of the series was also really interesting, and I wonder if it stayed that dark throughout its run. It was actually revealed last year that the writer was the author of Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai, which is a really nice and interesting fact. Maybe if that was known beforehand, it would have lasted longer. At number 44 we have Sakamoto Days, which has some excellent paneling and fight scenes. I think the plot is alright overall, but some characters can be a little hit and miss. For instance, I love Sakamoto and some of the other assassins like Osaragi, but there are other characters I just can't bring myself to care for as much, like Shin, so that's why it might rank lower than expected. At number 43 we have Medaka Box, and I haven't read too much of Medaka Box, but from what I have read, it was great. I love Medaka and Zenkichi, and this is one of the Jump manga I'm most looking forward to reading. At number 42 we have Sandland, which is a great 1-volume manga by Akira Toriyama, following demons and a human looking for a fabled lost water source. I have a video review on this, and I urge you to check it out. It's also getting a movie and game adaptation really soon. At number 41 we have Full Drive, a table tennis manga that lasted 3 volumes. I really liked the main character Dan and his relationship with Marin. They're both really fun characters to me. Nothing much happens in the manga, and I kind of like that. It has this really interesting sports atmosphere that feels almost realistic, with people just going into the club and playing table tennis. This is one of these forgotten manga I just find myself really liking for just weird reasons. The art, characters, and atmosphere all coming together to just make something really palatable for me. At number 40 we have Shokugeki no Sanji, a single volume One Piece spin-off focusing on Sanji, who is one of my favorite One Piece characters. It focuses on cooking aspects and is really well drawn. It's also fun to see One Piece through a different lens. At number 39 we have A Gravity Boys, a really funny sci-fi manga where 4 boys are sent to secure the Earth's future. I love the main cast a lot. They all have really funny gags that evolve throughout the series. Its final arc, the Penis World arc, being one of the funniest things I've ever read. At number 38 we have Ayakashi Triangle, probably the best ecchi manga I've read. I really like Suzu and Matsuri's relationship, and although I'm not caught up so things could change, I like how it explores the idea of gender not really mattering when it comes to love, even though that's mainly there for some weird Yuri lewd scenes. At number 37 we have Teenage Renaissance David, a comedy focusing on the statue of David and other famous works of art. It's absurdly funny and very up my alley as I'm an art student. At number 36 we have Bleach, the first of the big 3 and my least favorite overall. That said, Bleach is really fun and has some of the best artwork in Jump. I think some of the writing and characters are a little sloppy though, but it makes up for that with cool fights. Overall, a solid shonen battle series. At number 35 we have Naruto. It didn't take long for another member of the big 3 to join this list, and honestly, Bleach and Naruto are about on par for me. Naruto's early arcs though are some of my favourite Shonen Jump manga, and that's why it edges it out. But some of the later content in Shippuden really drags it down for me. I still think it's good overall though. At number 34 we have Straighten Up, Welcome to Shikahai's Competitive Dance Club, which is not an isekai contrary to its long name, but a lesser known dancing manga that's really good and I think more people need to read. Its cast is amazing, they're all cute and fun, and the art and paneling is superb. If you like non-traditional sports manga, I'd highly recommend this. At number 33 we have Blue Box, which has been a bit hit and miss with me at times, and I tend to enjoy it more when I'm in a relationship or in love with someone, or maybe those just coincide with periods where the plot just isn't progressing. Recently though, it's really picked up and I understand the 2 main characters a bit better, so it's going higher up on my list. I will not forgive it if it doesn't give Hina a happy ending though. At number 32 we have Ginka and Gluna, which was a bit messy at some point and had some really weird pacing at the beginning. I really loved the art and world building though, with its ending being really heartfelt and well done for an X manga, one I won't forget anytime soon. Number 31 is The Promised Neverland, and despite its shortcomings in its latter half, Gracefield House is one of the best first arcs of a manga. Its following few arcs are good too, leading up to Goldie Pond, and the art is consistently great by Pasuka Demizu. I also like the potential vegan themes throughout, but I wish it leaned into them a bit more. At number 30 I have Burn the Witch, which is going to annoy a lot of Bleach fans as I've placed this higher, but it is honestly my favourite work from Kubo. The art is just as excellent, if not more so, than Bleach, and I love the characters more, plus the world is just brimming with life. Reverse London being one of my favourite settings in manga, all the little dragons really adding to the world for me. I really love its cast, and I think they're much more appealing than Bleach is. At number 29 we have Jujutsu Kaisen, which has been a bit obtuse, especially in its recent chapters, but I still really enjoyed JJK and I think it's one of the better battle shonens with some really cool characters and abilities. It's solidly enjoyable, but gradually going down my list over time. At number 28 we have Gintama, where most of my experience lies within the anime, but I've read a few volumes and own them. It's solid fun and it's known to be one of the best gag manga for a reason. I'll likely focus on just watching the anime in the future though, as it sprinkles in some extra funny gags, and the filler episodes are just as funny as the regular ones. At number 27, we have School Judgment Gakkyou Hote, and as an Ace Attorney fan, I just love this series. It's a lot of fun. Imagine Ace Attorney but set in grade school, with some great art courtesy of Takeshi Obata, the artist behind Death Note. It also ends up wrapping itself up really nicely despite its short run, and I think more people should read this. At number 26, we have Muyo and Roji's Bureau of Spiritual Investigation, which is an underrated gem of Shonen Jump. Muyo and Roji has great artwork, a unique world that tackles exercising spirits in a different way from most modern battle shonen. It's a refreshing change of pace filled with fun characters, its drawbacks mostly being some pacing issues, and the final arc not being very climactic, although I still like it a lot. At number 25, we have Haikyuu, which is one of the most beloved sports manga, period. Most of my experiences with Haikyuu have been with the anime, although I've read 100 chapters, and I'm looking forward to reading the series and finishing it off with the manga. At number 24, we have Black Clover, which is shonen in the form of popcorn. Instead of something new, I feel Black Clover just refines what battle shonen is, makes it faster and more fun to read, and sometimes all you need is a bunch of cool battles with cool characters fighting each other. At number 23, we have Ichigoki's Under Control, the last manga to be axed from Shonen Jump, and one a lot of people didn't like. I, however, really did. The jokes are so absurd and silly, it really is my type of comedy, and the relationship between Ichigoki and Misao are great. I really loved their relationship, and the final wedding chapter was just exactly what I wanted to see from the series. At number 22, we have Ruri Dragon, which feels like this mythical manga at this point. With only 6 chapters, it really captured the hearts of a lot of people, including me, and those 6 chapters are so good that this is why it ranks so high. I really hope the author gets better so Ruri can return in some capacity. At number 21, we have Dr. Stone reboot Byakuya, a 1-volume spin-off of Dr. Stone focusing on Senku's dad, Byakuya, who is one of the best characters in the series, so you know it's going to be good. I also just love Dr. Stone, as you'll hear eventually in this list, and this is just a great 1-volume story of Dr. Stone with an amazing climax. At number 20, we have Tenmaku Cinema, one of the newest Jump series and one I love a ton. It has this warm, summery atmosphere to it that really makes me feel relaxed when reading, and it focuses on the love and passion that goes into creating something, which is really resonant to me as a creative. The mystery of Tenmaku is also really enthralling, and I hope this one survives the axe so it can do a few neat arcs and wrap up the mystery surrounding Tenmaku. At number 19, we have We Never Learn, which is a brilliant romance series, Narukami being one of the best main characters, especially for this type of series, because he really does deserve the love of all these girls. He's just a really nice, kind person. I also love the idea of the final arcs all being different dating sim style routes. It's such a cool idea, and I even bought my favorite route, which is Kirisu's, the teacher arc. At number 18, we have Witch Watch, which is one of the best currently running series in Jump, and it's also one of the most underrated. Witch Watch has a stellar cast of characters, all of them being fun and well developed. It also does well juggling its serious arcs with its funny gag chapters. Number 17 is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6 Stone Ocean, which is one of my least loved JoJo parts, but I still love it nevertheless. It's JoJo, so expect great art, with it particularly excelling in its stand battles in this part, like the Maximum Security Ward battles. I really love the Survivor fight, for instance, and Dio's sons also have some crazy stands, which I love. I do think it drops the ball in a few places though, with its side characters not being as strong as other parts. At number 16, we have Death Note, a classic for good reason. It's an amazing battle of wits with some truly iconic characters in L and Light. Its second half suffers a bit, but still very good, with me reading it recently and really enjoying it. At number 15 we have Otoko Ipikigeki Daisho, which is the first true face of Jump, and not only is historically important for the magazine, but really well written and a fun read. Mankichi being a great protagonist you really want to root for, his journey going to some really surprising places. I talk more about this in my first Shonen Jump history video, which you should check out. It's also gradually getting translated so you can read it. At number 14 we have Hunter x Hunter, which is Togashi's magnum opus, and it's well loved for good reason. I do think it suffers at points from overcomplicated storytelling, like in its later arcs, but the characters and art are exceptional. I do think the 2011 anime is the best way to experience the series though, so that's why this might be a little further down than you'd expect. At number 13 we have Cypher Academy, one of my favourite current running Jump titles. It has some great fun puzzles which are fun to try to work out or to just learn the answers to, as some are very obtuse and culturally relevant to Japan. The characters are amazing. I also love Iroha and Toshusai's relationship, it's so sweet. The Jump references it sprinkles throughout are also a nice touch and just make me love it even more. And speaking of Jump references, we have number 12, Ayashimon, which is probably my favorite Axe manga currently. It really felt made for me, having tons of Jump references as just mentioned, but also crossing yokai and Yakuza together, Yakuza being one of my favorite game series ever, so it was nice to see something that reminded me of that. The art is also amazing, and I hope to see Yuji Kaku again in some other manga. At number 11, narrowly missing the top 10, we have World Trigger, which by no means doesn't belong in the top 10. It's a really fun battle manga, focusing on more tactical based fights, with each character having different loadouts of guns and melee weapons and such. It's really fun to theorize what you might have in World Trigger's world. It also has plenty of interesting arcs, ranging from alien invasions to massive game-like simulation battles. It's super unique and I love it a lot. At number 10, and starting the top 10, we have Dr. Stone, which shakes up the shonen formula by focusing on science, and it does so really well, being fun, educational, and merging the ideals of Shonen Jump manga with this love for humanity and the world as a whole. To top it all off, it has some of the best art in Jump by Boichi and is a must-read Shonen Jump manga. At number 9 we have Akane Banashi, an absolute treat to read right now in the magazine, and it's something that will definitely go down as a Jump classic in the future. It tells its Rakugo stories with so much emotion and with so much clarity, it deserves its place in my top 10, and people not reading it should really read this weekly. At number 8 we have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood, and a lot of people might be confused why this is up so high, but I really love part 1. I think it's a really nice short story with some amazing artwork that people like to downplay. Jonathan and Dia's relationship and story overall is one of my favorites as well, and it sets up the rest of the series, making it a really important and really fun read in my opinion. At number 7 we have Bakuman, and clearly at this point people watching my channel will know I love Shonen Jump, so Bakuman is like the perfect manga for me, as it deep dives into the process of making a manga for Shonen Jump. The host of fake manga being something I really love, just reading about these fake manga, and I'm sure if I go back to reread it now I'll be able to see even more references to older Jump series, and it would go even higher up my list. At number 6 we have Rookies, which is a manga I read earlier this year. It's a delinquent manga crossed with a baseball series, and it's really good. It has an excellent cast of characters, Kawato Sensei being one of the nicest, kindest characters ever in manga, and I love him so much. If you've ever watched Great Teacher Onizuka or read it, I definitely recommend Rookies, as it touches on some of the same ideas, but I think it does so even better. A underappreciated Jump classic that everyone needs to read. At number 5 we have Steel Ball Run, and it started in Weekly Shonen Jump, so it counts for this list. Steel Ball Run is widely considered the best part of JoJo, and for good reason. It has an amazing setting, and Araki's change to magazine really helped the artwork pop, which is something that shouldn't be attributed to Jump, but it started in Jump and it's here, so we're just gonna let this one slide, folks. Johnny and Gyro are two of my favorite characters, period, and I think they have one of the best friendships in media. It's honestly really sweet and fun to watch. It does struggle at some points in the story, and the stand battles are a tad weak, but it does so much good that those elements don't really matter in making this a masterpiece. At number 4 we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Created by Kazuki Takahashi, which inspired my favorite card game, and anime which pretty much made my entire childhood. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very special series to me, and I'm very sentimental towards it. It's not just sentimental though, it's really fun and well made. The early arcs with Shadow Games are really fun if you've never read the manga but have watched the anime, and then it gradually pivots to the Yu-Gi-Oh! We all know and love, with some amazing arcs like Duelist Kingdom and Battle City. Out of any manga, I think it handles the themes of friendship the best and is truly one of the best manga, period, and a contender for one of my favorite manga ever. And at number 3 we have Undead Unluck, and we're getting to 3 manga now where I feel like, depending on what day you ask me, any of these top 3 could be my favorites. But right now Undead Unluck is in 3rd. It's a manga that's just gotten better over time, doing crazy things with its loop premise. Currently it's going through a lot of smaller arcs, tackling different ideas and genres, but giving us payoff after payoff. It's such a fun read and is my favorite manga to read right now in Weekly Shonen Jump. At number 2 we have Chainsaw Man, which has my favorite art and paneling of any manga. And while most people tend to focus on the batshit insane aspects of the story and moments throughout, it's the quiet introspective moments that really make me love it. It resonates with me on a deeply personal level as a story of wanting to be wanted and loved, and there isn't anything else quite like it. And at number 1 we have One Piece, and it's so hard not to give it the top spot. And while I think there are manga I'm enjoying more at the moment, overall One Piece means so much to me, I can't put it anywhere other than number 1. It is just that good. I'm sorry it's not a very surprising number 1, but it is my favorite, so I can't just not put it here. And there's my top 100 manga of Shonen Jump. Over time, this might change as I read more manga and other manga progress through their stories and change for better or worse, so it'll be interesting to see how this changes over the years. I'm really looking forward to doing this again in the future to see how many new manga make this list. Please let me know what you think. What are your favorite series from Shonen Jump? And what series are you maybe interested to read that I've mentioned from this list which you haven't read yet? You could also comment other Jump series that you think I should read that should be on this list. In the future, I might make a top 50 worst Shonen Jump manga, as that sounds like a funny video to make, and I had to sift through a bunch of bad series to make this list. But for now, look forward to my usual Shonen Jump content like my Jump history videos, short reviews, or other topics potentially. As always, thank you for watching and take care.